Hello and welcome to Delectable Flavors. In today's video, I will be showing you how to decorate a drip cake. Now I'm using this chocolate cake and I've left a link in the description box on how you can make that. This is going to be my first layer. In my last cake decorating video, I just put the icing on with a spatula, but in this video I want to show you a different technique. So I'm using a piping bag today. So what you need to do is fill your piping bag with your desired icing. I'm using my vegan American buttercream, and I've also left a link in the description box on how you can make that. And what you're going to do is cut a hole and then grab your icing and put a dollop right there. And now what you're going to do is spread this icing so it can support as much as it can. Now I'm going to put my spatula on my plate over there. And now what I'm going to do is get my cake and press it onto my board. So I like to keep my parchment paper on my cake until I put it on my cake board and decorate it. And I've also already simple syruped and refrigerated these cakes. And if you're looking for a nice simple syrup recipe, I've left a link in the description box on how you can do that as well. So now what you're going to do is get your piping bag and pipe a circle. This does not have to be perfect, as this is the center of your cake. I'm just going to pipe a circle there. Now using your offset spatula, you're going to just smooth it out. And don't worry too much about perfectionism in the center of your cake, as it does not matter. So the more icing you add, the more height your cake will get. But if you're not looking for too high of a cake, you can just stop with this much. Now I'm going to add a little more. And I'm going to start from the outside in this time. I'm just going to make one whole ring. So now I'm going to add my second cake layer, which is a Fudge and Oreo cookie cake. I've also left a link in the description box on how to make that as well. And I'm going to go with the flatter side. And I do put on more icing on my vanilla cakes, but I like to put a bit less icing on my chocolate cakes, as chocolate already has enough sweetness. Now what I'm going to do is the same technique. So I'm just going to spread it around using the turntable, just like I did last time. Now I'm going to add my third layer, which is another chocolate cake. So I'm just going to swirl on a little bit and spread it with my spatula. Make sure you also have another board or something so the icing doesn't stick onto your work surface. I'm just going to give this a beautiful light spread. Imagine it as spreading some Nutella on bread. You don't want to add too much, but you don't want to add too less. And don't worry, this is the inside, and it is meant to be not seen, as the main decorations are really on the outside and the top of the cake. And now I'm going to continue this in a circular motion. And make sure you always duck down and check if your cake is leveled. If there's a little bit of a mountain of icing in the middle, or if there's not enough icing somewhere, then just keep going. I'm going to put on some more icing. I've got a nice even layer, but I'm just going to add a little bit more on the edges. And that's good. And now I'm going to give this another spread. And do not forget, this is the crumb coat, which is basically just meant to lock in the crumbs from the cake. It's not meant to look pretty. And I'm just going to smooth this all out. Now it's time for our icing. And I do have a fifth tier, but I'm going to add my supports first so that my cake, my last cake layer, my top cake layer, won't have these straws pointing out. So what I'm going to do is first measure by putting a hole in the middle. So I have this much excess and I'm going to cut it off. And now, according to this, I'm going to measure more and I'm going to put it in fourths around this portion. Supports are very necessary. When you see your cake starting to wobble just a little bit on the turntable, make sure you take advantage and put your supports then, as your cake really needs them. And there you go. If you noticed before that my cake was shaking a little bit, now it's perfectly structured. And now I'm not worried about this falling at all. So now I'm going to add my last cake layer, which is chocolate. And now I'm going to do a spiral on the outer ring again. There, I'll just end the spiral quickly. And I'm going to use the offset spatula to turn it again. Now I'm going to start working on my edges. So now what you're going to do is coat the whole cake with icing and then scrape the sides using a bench or cake bench scraper. In the last video I used a smaller cake bench scraper as my cake was only 3 layers. If you see any air bubbles, make sure to fill them in immediately using a spatula. Now what I'm going to do is add just a little bit more icing, except in this icing, I've added some Oreo crumbs to give it a better, more Oreo look from the outside. And now I'm just going to smother the Oreo crumbs icing onto it. I have some ganache here in my chocolate squeeze bottle, and you can make ganache using a recipe I have on my YouTube channel, and I've also left a link in the description box on how you can make that. So what you're going to do is squeeze little drops, but put lots of pressure so they go down the cake. Make sure your ganache is cooled so it'll work. If you do not have a squeeze bottle, you can use a spoon. Now to check if your ganache is ready or if it needs to be cooled for longer, all you have to do is make a drip on the side that you want as the back, and you need to check if it's ready. If you think it's the right consistency, then you can keep going. So I'm just gonna check mine, and I think mine is a pretty good consistency. I have a nice drip over here. So I'm now going to add more as I go along. I'm also going to use a spoon to show you how you can do it with that. All you have to do is pour, and then move on, and then get more ganache. Show you what it looks like. If you have a little bit of a gap, just fill it up. And if you have a discontinued portion, you can just add more ganache onto that, and it'll fill it up. Now we have drips all over our cake to get these beautiful drips. And now what I'm going to do is just add the rest onto my cake. And I'm going to spread it out. So be very careful on the edges. And the whole top is covered with ganache. So what you can do to decorate the bottom is get your Oreos or Fudgios or any other cookie you have on hand and just break it in half and push it on. You can also use sprinkles here, but I like the look of the Oreo, especially because I have the Oreo icing as well as the Oreo cake on the inside. So this is the perfect decoration for me. So what I'm going to do to decorate the top is get some Oreos and stick it into my ganache. And then I have these little Hershey's, and I broke the bar in half, and I'm just going to add it into my cake at an angle. I'm going to stick it into my cake so it doesn't fall off. There we go. I also have these wafers that I'm going to add. I think I'll add some half ones here. And another one right here. I like to have a symmetrical design in place. And now since I feel like it's a little empty here, I'm going to add some Hershey Kisses. Just going to pop in a few there. And that's the tutorial. And there is our lovely drip cake with this beautiful design. If you did like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and do not forget to subscribe to our channel for a new recipe every week. Till the next recipe, bye-bye.